Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time we're exploring a connection that might surprise you at first.
Yeah.
The link between distraction
Uh-huh.
and brilliant thinking.
Interesting.
We'll be using what we learned from the audio excerpts of the book Mastermind
Right.
to see how we can unlock our mental potential
Okay.
using techniques like Holmes's famous brain attic.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll also cover those sneaky mental pitfalls that can really sabotage our thinking.
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It all starts with this idea of mindful distraction.
A mindful distraction. Yeah.
You might think that when you step away from a problem,
Right.
your brain just stops working on it completely.
Yeah.
But that's not actually true.
Okay.
It's more like
Mm-hmm.
shifting gears a little bit,
Okay.
moving that problem to the back burner,
Mm-hmm.
so your unconscious mind can kind of mull it over
Uh-huh.
while you consciously focus on something else.
So it's not just about procrastination.
Right.
It's about choosing activities
Yeah.
that give our brains the
Mhm.
space to make connections
Exactly.
that we might miss
Huh?
if we were just staring at the problem.
Yeah, like forcing it.
Forcing it. Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to step away.
I'm thinking of Sherlock Holmes here.
Oh, yeah. Great example.
Escaping into his music
Right.
or puffing on his pipe. Is that kind of what we're talking about?
Absolutely. Holmes and that pipe.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to think
Mm-hmm.
about how that rhythmic puffing
Okay.
might have helped regulate his breathing,
Mm-hmm.
inducing that state of calm focus.
Interesting.
Or even the repetitive action itself
Yeah.
could have just freed up his mind to wander,
Okay.
letting him explore all those different angles of the problem
Right.
without the pressure of conscious thought.
So the key is
That key is
choosing a distraction that engages your mind
Yeah,
just enough
just enough.
to shift focus,
Right.
but not too much. Not too much.
That it overwhelms you
Exactly.
and prevents those background
It's
processes.
about finding that balance.
Finding that balance. Okay.
The book mentions things like
Yeah.
walking in nature,
Right.
listening to music,
Mhm.
even looking at visual illusions.
I love that visual illusion.
Yes, kind of trippy.
It is a little bit.
But it works.
It does, yeah.
Have you ever had one of those aha moments
Oh, yeah.
while doing something completely unrelated
Totally.
to the problem you're facing?
Like your brain was working on it in the background,
Behind the scenes.
and then boom,
Yeah.
solution delivered.
Like magic.
It is like magic.
Well, not really
It's
magic,
like,
but it feels like that.
it does.
But there's actually science behind it.
Is there really?
Yeah, there have been studies
Okay.
that show people are actually better at solving problems after they've taken a walk,
Really?
especially in nature.
Interesting.
Seems like nature just unlocks something in our brains.
Helping us see things from a fresh perspective.
Okay, so we've got this idea of taking a step back,
Right.
whether it's physically or mentally.
Mm-hmm.
But the book also talks about
Oh, yeah.
the Zeigarnik effect
That's a fascinating one.
and this need our brains have for closure.
Uh-huh. That need for closure.
How does that tie into all of this?
Well, the Zeigarnik effect
Okay.
is this really interesting phenomenon
Uh-huh.
where unfinished tasks
Yeah.
tend to linger in our minds
Mm-hmm.
more than the ones we've completed.
Oh, really?
It's that nagging feeling you get
Oh,
when
yeah.
you started something,
Uh-huh.
but you haven't finished it.
I know exactly what you mean.
Now, you might think this is a bad thing,
Right.
all this unfinished business.
Yeah.
But it can actually be a powerful motivator.
So instead of being a burden,
Mm-hmm.
this need for closure
Yeah,
can actually drive us
exactly.
to think more creatively
More creatively.
and work harder to find those solutions.
Absolutely.
So we can actually use this to our advantage.
You got it. It's like hacking your own productivity.
You're hacking your productivity. I like that.
Break down a big project
Right.
into smaller, more manageable tasks.
Right.
And each time you finish one,
Yeah.
you get that little hit of dopamine,
Oh, yeah.
that feel-good neurotransmitter.
I know that feeling.
And that reinforces the behavior.
Okay.
It helps you stay motivated and on track.
Little mental rewards along the way.
Exactly.
I like it. And speaking of shifting perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
the book dives into the idea of physical distance
Right.
as a way to unlock those new insights.
Yeah, getting out of your usual space.
Oh, yeah. What was that? Spending the night in the room where the murder took place.
To gain a new perspective.
Especially intriguing.
Right. That's not something most of us would do.
Probably not, but what's the thinking behind that?
It's all about how our environment shapes our thinking
Okay.
when we're in a familiar place.
Yeah.
Our minds tend to follow those well-worn paths,
Right.
relying on those learned associations
Hmm.
and ingrained thought patterns.
So by changing our location, we
Exactly.
disrupt those patterns.
We force our brains to see things from a new angle.
It's like hitting a reset button on our brains.
Yeah, a fresh start.
Yeah.
You remove yourself from those associations
Uh-huh.
and open up to all those new possibilities.
I think we can all relate to that feeling
Yeah.
of being stuck in a rut,
Okay.
whether it's at work
Yeah,
or even in our personal lives.
definitely.
Have you ever noticed
Mhm.
how a change of scenery,
Yeah.
even something simple,
Like what?
like working from a different room,
Oh, yeah.
can help you see things in a new light?
Totally can make a world of difference.
That's the power of physical distance at work.
Physical distance.
But it's not just about physically moving.
Right.
The book also talks about meditation
Oh, yeah. Meditation.
as a tool for
Mhm.
creating mental distance.
Mental distance.
It's a way to quiet the mind,
Yeah, to declutter.
declutter,
Get rid of those mental cobwebs.
and create space for new insights.
Like cleaning out your brain attic.
Cleaning out that brain attic.
Making room for new connections and ideas.
This is where that mindful part comes in.
Right.
It's not about zoning out in front of the TV.
No, no, no.
It's about engaging in activities
Yeah.
that help cultivate that mental clarity and focus.
That focus.
I was fascinated by that fact
Like
that
that.
Ray Dalio,
Oh, wow.
the founder of that massive hedge fund,
Uh,
uses meditation
yeah.
to enhance his decision-making.
That's pretty impressive.
It really is.
And you know what's really interesting?
Mhm.
Even just mentally revisiting a past experience
Okay.
and trying to shift your perspective on it
Right.
can provide benefits similar to physically being there.
Oh, wow.
It's about approaching it with fresh eyes.
So asking yourself,
What did I miss?
what did I miss?
What assumptions am I making?
It all ties back to creating that mental space for our minds to work their magic.
That's the key.
Whether it's through physical or mental distance.
Distance is key.
But it's not just about distraction and distance.
What else is there?
It's also about deduction, right? Putting those pieces together into a solution.
Right, taking all that information you've gathered.
Yeah.
During those times of mindful distraction and distance
Mm-hmm.
and approaching it with a critical eye,
Okay.
Mastermind actually presents deduction
Yeah.
as more than just strict logic.
Interesting.
It's about meticulous reasoning
Okay.
and reaching a conclusion that's demonstrably true.
So starting with the facts,
Yes, starting with that.
but also separating the crucial details
Yeah.
from the incidental ones.
the incidental ones, yeah.
This is where those critical thinking skills
Exactly.
really come into play.
That's where it all comes together.
You've created the space.
Yes.
You've gathered the information. Now it's time to analyze it and draw those conclusions.
Analyze and draw conclusions.
But the book also cautions us
Oh, yeah.
against the perils of storytelling.
Oh, those stories.
Our brains love creating narratives,
Do.
even if they're not accurate.
Even if they're not accurate.
It's like our brains are wired
Mm-hmm.
to seek those explanations.
Yeah, they want to make sense of the world.
To create a cohesive narrative,
Mm.
even when the facts don't necessarily support it.
It's like we're all natural storytellers.
It really is.
But sometimes those stories,
Yeah.
they can lead us astray.
It raises a crucial question then.
What's that?
How much of what we believe is shaped by our need
Mhm.
to create a coherent story,
Mhm.
even if it means overlooking facts or
Hmm.
misinterpreting evidence?
That's a dangerous path.
It is. I'm thinking of that bee's wing anecdote.
Oh, yeah, from the Crooked Man.
You remember that one? Vaguely.
Watson tries to come up with this logical explanation
Uh-huh.
for why one glass of wine
Yeah.
has more sediment than the others.
Okay.
He weaves this elaborate story
Mm.
that seems to make perfect sense,
Right.
but turns out to be completely off base.
Oh, wow. So he was way off.
Totally off.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a similar experience
Oh, yeah. I think we all have.
where you were so sure of an explanation,
Mm-hmm.
but you were completely wrong?
It's humbling.
It is.
The book actually delves into the neuroscience behind this.
Really?
Yeah, it talks about split brain experiments
Okay.
that reveal
Yeah.
how our left hemisphere,
Uh-huh.
often called the interpreter,
The interpreter.
is constantly striving to make sense of the world,
Hmm.
even if it means
Yeah.
confabulating,
Confabulate.
filling in the gaps
Yeah.
with made-up explanations.
So we all have this inner storyteller
We do.
who sometimes gets a little carried away.
A little carried away, yeah.
It's a good reminder
It is.
to be mindful of our tendency to jump to conclusions.
Yeah, don't jump to conclusions. And to be willing to challenge our own narratives,
Challenging narratives.
even when they seem to make perfect sense.
Because sometimes they don't.
Exactly. And this brings us
Wow.
to another fascinating concept from the book,
What's that?
the conjunction fallacy.
The conjunction fallacy.
This is where we think a specific combination of events is more likely
More likely.
than a more general one,
Okay.
even when statistically it's less probable.
Less probable.
It's kind of counterintuitive.
It is a little bit.
Our brains often prioritize a good story
That story.
over statistical probability.
We like those stories.
The Linda problem from the book
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
is a great illustration of this.
Right.
It shows how easily we can be swayed by those incidental details
Those little details.
and ignore the base rates,
The base rate.
the actual probability of something occurring.
Yeah, we get caught up in the narrative.
Can you walk us through that example?
Sure. So imagine
Okay.
you're given a description of Linda.
All right.
31 years old.
Okay.
Single, outspoken, and very bright.
Got it.
She majored in philosophy.
Philosophy.
As a student,
Yeah.
she was really concerned with issues of discrimination and social justice.
Okay.
And she also participated in anti-nuclear demonstrations.
All right. So you've got Linda.
You've got Linda.
Pretty clear picture of her.
Yeah, and now you're asked
Huh?
to rank the likelihood
Okay.
of certain statements about her.
Okay.
So is it more likely
Mhm.
that she's a bank teller
Okay.
or
Yeah.
that she's a bank teller
Uh-huh.
and active in the feminist movement?
So which one's more likely?
Which one feels more right based on what we know about Linda?
I mean, she sounds like she'd be active in the feminist movement.
Right. She fits the
So
profile.
most people would say it's more likely she's both.
Both a bank teller and active in the movement.
Right.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Statistically, it's far more likely for someone to be just a bank teller than to be both.
Oh, wow.
The conjunction of those two characteristics
Uh-huh.
actually makes it less probable.
But it feels more right
It does.
based on her story.
We get caught up in the story.
It's amazing how our intuition
Yeah,
can sometimes lead us astray.
it really is.
We get so caught up
Yeah,
in the narrative
details.
that we overlook the basic logic
And the statistics.
and statistical probability.
It's a common trap.
And it can have real-world consequences
Yeah.
affecting our judgment
All sorts of situations.
from hiring to investments.
It's a valuable reminder.
It is.
Always be mindful
Be mindful
of this potential bias
of that bias.
and to double check our assumptions,
Double-check those assumptions.
especially
Yeah.
when dealing with complex or emotionally charged situations.
Absolutely, when the stakes are high.
So it's about training ourselves.
Yes.
Training
To
ourselves
think more critically
to be critical,
and to challenge our own intuitions.
even when they seem so.
Right. Even when they seem compelling.
It's not always easy.
It's not. But sometimes,
Yeah.
even with all the facts in hand,
Mm-hmm.
we dismiss the improbable.
How does that happen?
How does that happen?
Well, it goes back to how our brains work.
Okay.
They rely on those past experiences and expectations
To make sense of the world.
to make sense of everything.
So we tend to discount possibilities that
Mhm.
seem unlikely
Yeah,
based on our limited perspective,
our limited perspective.
even when those possibilities are the right answer.
It's like we're blinded by our own experience.
It's like our own mental database
Yeah, that mental database,
can sometimes prevent us from seeing the truth,
blocking the truth.
even when it's right there in front of us.
It's frustrating, isn't it?
It is. The book uses a great example
What's that?
from Silver Blaze.
Oh, Silver Blaze. Yeah.
Remember how Holmes initially dismisses a crucial possibility? Because it doesn't fit his prior experience.
It didn't compute for him.
It really didn't.
Even Holmes makes mistakes.
Even Holmes, it highlights how,
How even the most brilliant minds can fall prey to this kind of thinking.
it's a valuable reminder
It is.
that we all have blind spots.
We all have blind spots.
And sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.
Stranger than fiction.
So we need to be willing
Yes.
to challenge our assumptions,
Those assumptions.
to consider all possibilities,
All of them.
even those that seem improbable.
Improbable.
At first glance,
At first glance.
it's about cultivating that sense
Right.
of intellectual humility,
Intellectual humility.
recognizing that
Recognizing that.
we don't have all the answers,
You don't have all the answers.
and that there's always more to learn.
Always more to learn.
But of course, we
You
can't
reckon?
forget about the dangers of overconfidence.
Overconfidence, that's a big one.
Can we?
It can really trip us up.
Success can be a double-edged sword.
It can.
It can breed overconfidence.
Oh, you start thinking you're invincible.
Leading us to overestimate our abilities.
Get a big head.
And underestimate the role of external factors.
Those external factors, yeah.
We become complacent. Assuming
that what?
Because we've succeeded in the past.
Yeah.
We'll continue to succeed in the future.
Past success doesn't guarantee future success.
The book uses another Sherlock Holmes story.
Oh, which one?
The yellow face.
The yellow face.
To illustrate this point, it's fascinating to see how Holmes, who's usually so sharp,
right, usually spot on,
makes a major error in judgment.
Wow.
Because he's overconfident in his initial theory.
He gets cocky.
He does. It's a reminder.
It's a reminder that
even the most brilliant minds
even the most brilliant
can be susceptible to the pitfalls of overconfidence.
Overconfidence is a tricky one.
Especially when dealing with familiar situations.
Oh, yeah.
Or feeling pressured to perform.
Absolutely, that pressure can get to you.
It highlights the importance.
It really does.
Of staying humble. And constantly challenging.
Always challenging.
Our own assumptions.
No matter how successful we've been in the past.
It's about continuous improvement.
Continuous improvement.
But how do we actually combat this overconfidence?
That's the big question, right?
What strategies can we use?
What can we do to stay grounded?
To avoid these pitfalls.
That's something we'll explore in the next part.
Oh, yeah, we've got a lot more to cover.
Of our deep dive.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned, everyone.
It's fascinating how Holmes uses his awareness of this to his advantage. In The Hound of the Baskervilles,
Yeah.
He actually predicts that the villain's going to make a mistake because of his big ego.
So he's using his understanding of overconfidence.
To anticipate the villain's actions.
To outsmart him.
Turning a weakness into a strategic advantage.
Brilliant.
It is brilliant, but recognizing those signs in ourselves can be a lot trickier.
Much trickier.
So are there any red flags we should watch out for?
Well, the book highlights 4 key areas.
4 key areas.
Where overconfidence tends to sneak in.
Okay, I'm ready.
The first one.
Yeah.
When we're facing difficult tasks.
Difficult tasks.
It's that hard-easy effect we talked about.
Right.
We underestimate our ability with the easy stuff.
Yeah.
And overestimate it with the hard stuff.
So we don't accurately assess the difficulty.
Nope.
And adjust our confidence.
We don't adjust.
Of course.
We either get too cautious or too
It's
optimistic.
like with financial predictions.
Oh, yeah. Good example.
It's so hard to predict the market.
Incredibly difficult.
But people get overconfident.
They do.
Based on past success.
Past success is not a guarantee.
Right. Ignoring those external factors.
That chance.
So past performance isn't always a reliable indicator.
Not always.
Of future results.
What's the second area then?
The second area
where overconfidence strikes
is familiarity.
Familiarity.
When we're doing something we've done a million times before.
You get comfortable.
We get complacent. Even if the situation's changed.
Right.
It's like autopilot.
Autopilot.
Assuming we've mastered it.
We don't need to be as careful.
Like driving.
Oh, yeah. Driving's a good one.
We get so used to it.
We do.
We can slip into that routine.
It becomes second nature.
But it can be dangerous.
Very dangerous.
If we're not paying attention.
Those changing conditions.
Those hazards.
The book actually gives this kind of a disturbing example of a couple who were feeding a lion.
Feeding a lion.
Regularly.
Okay.
They got so familiar with it.
Oh, no.
That they underestimated the danger.
Oh, that's not good.
It didn't end well.
So even in familiar situations. It's important to stay alert.
Stay alert.
To avoid becoming complacent.
Don't get complacent.
What's the third danger zone?
The third one is information overload.
Information overload.
We have access to so much information.
We do. It's overwhelming.
It is. And it makes us feel more confident.
Really?
Even if the information isn't accurate.
Just because we have more of it.
We equate quantity with quality.
It's tempting to think.
It is.
If we just gather enough data.
Yeah.
The right answers will just appear.
Like magic.
But the book uses the yellow face
to
show how that's not true.
Holmes gathers tons of information.
Right.
But it's all biased.
Leading him to the wrong conclusion.
So it's not just the amount of information.
Yeah.
It's the quality.
And the source.
The source is crucial.
So we have to be discerning.
We have to be discerning.
About the information we encounter.
And consider those potential biases.
Right. What's the final danger zone?
The final one is action.
Action.
When we're actively engaged, we feel more confident.
Even if our actions aren't helpful.
Even if they're not helpful.
It's like the act of doing creates an illusion of control.
Illusion of control.
There's research on this.
Oh, really?
People who flip a coin themselves are more confident in predicting the outcome than those who just watch.
Wow. So our own actions influence our beliefs.
This can be dangerous in fields like trading.
Oh, yeah. Trading's a good example.
Where overconfident people trade more frequently.
And often lose money.
They mistake activity for effectiveness.
They think doing more is always better.
So it's not just about avoiding inaction.
Right.
It's about making sure our actions are actually helping us reach our goals.
Aligned with our goals.
Not just creating a facade of productivity.
Busy work doesn't equal progress.
So we know the 4 danger zones.
We know the danger zone.
How do we combat overconfidence?
How do we fight it?
What strategies can we use?
One of the most powerful tools
Okay.
is continuous learning.
Continuous learning.
It's about cultivating curiosity, challenging our assumptions,
Challenging those assumptions.
and always seeking to improve
Always improving.
our understanding of the world.
It's like Holmes said,
What did he say?
education never ends.
That's a good one.
It is,
Thanks
we're
a lot.
all works in progress.
We are.
And there's always more to learn.
Always more to learn.
No matter how much we think we know.
No matter how much we know.
And continuous learning isn't just about
It's not just about
accumulating knowledge.
Yeah.
It's about actively challenging
actively challenging
our thinking habits.
our thinking habits.
Even when we feel
Yeah.
like we've mastered something.
Never stop challenging yourself.
The book talks about
Whoa.
having a Watson in our lives.
A Watson?
Someone who
Like-
can question our assumptions,
Oh, I see.
push us to think more deeply.
That outside perspective.
An outside perspective, you
Like-
know.
A trusted friend.
A friend, a colleague,
A mentor.
who can play devil's advocate.
To challenge our thinking.
Help us see things from a different angle.
It's so valuable.
And it helps us break out
Break out of what?
of our echo chambers.
Those echo chambers?
Where we only surround ourselves
with information, with
opinions
opinions,
to affirm our beliefs.
reinforcing what we already think.
We need to break free from that.
The book also stresses
Yeah.
the importance of seeking out
Seeking out what?
disconfirming evidence,
Disconfirming evidence.
information that challenges.
Challenges, not
Yeah.
just what supports them.
It's recognizing that.
Recognizing that what?
We naturally seek out
Confirmation.
confirmation,
We-
like to be right.
And we have to actively combat that bias.
What that bias?
That's a crucial step
It is
in developing a more objective perspective.
that objective perspective.
Recognizing that our beliefs
Are shaped by our experiences,
and biases.
and we need to challenge those biases
Challenge those biases.
to arrive at
A more accurate
a more accurate understanding
of the world.
of the world. But what's really remarkable
What's remarkable?
is that our brains
Yeah.
are capable of change
They are.
and growth
They can grow
throughout our lives.
throughout our life.
The book highlights research
Oh, wow.
showing that even the elderly
Even the elderly.
can reverse cognitive decline.
That's amazing.
It is through mental training.
Mental training.
So we're not stuck
We're not stuck.
with the mental abilities we
Yeah.
have today.
Our brains are adaptable.
They can continue to learn and grow.
It's never too late.
It's never too late. And it's important to remember
Mm-hmm.
that our brains are constantly learning,
Always learning.
whether we're aware of it
Yeah.
or not.
Consciously.
If we're not actively engaging our minds,
Oh, no.
we can actually lose those abilities.
So, use it or lose it. Use it or lose it. So
what should we do?
we need to engage in activities
Yeah.
that challenge us.
Challenge us mentally.
Like learning a new language.
Learning a language.
Taking up a musical instrument.
Oh, yeah.
Or tackling those complex problems.
Those tough problems.
It helps keep our mind sharp.
Keeps those minds sharp.
And prevents that decline.
It's about being proactive.
It is. And it's not just about preventing decline.
What else is there?
We can actually rewire our brains.
Rewire our brains.
And improve those cognitive abilities.
We can get better.
Through consistent effort and practice.
Like building mental muscle.
Building mental muscle. I love that analogy.
The more we challenge ourselves,
The stronger we get.
our thinking becomes more flexible.
So we have more control.
More control.
Over our mental destiny.
And we realize.
But
yeah.
even with all these tools and techniques,
Yeah.
we're bound to make mistakes.
We're human.
So how does Holmes deal with his blunders?
How does he bounce back?
How does he bounce back?
He learns from them.
He learns from them.
in the yellow face.
Yeah.
He actually acknowledges his mistake.
He admits he was wrong.
And he asks Watson to remind him of it.
To remind him of it.
If he ever gets too cocky again.
So it's a beautiful example of intellectual humility.
Intellectual humility.
Commitment to continuous improvement.
Never stop improving.
It's really inspiring to see that.
Yeah.
But for those of us who don't have Holmes around,
exactly,
to point out our mistakes, what can we do?
What can we do
to cultivate those mindful habits?
Yeah, those good habits.
And avoid the pitfalls.
Those mental traps.
The mental traps.
The key is to challenge your own thinking.
Okay.
Make it a regular practice.
So don't just fall into a routine.
Right, even when it comes to thinking.
Gotta keep things fresh.
Actively engage with the information.
Don't just passively absorb it.
Don't just be a sponge.
So we should be asking questions.
Yes, ask those questions.
Considering different perspectives.
Don't be afraid of different viewpoints.
And constantly testing our assumptions.
Testing.
Be an active participant in the thinking process.
Not just a passive recipient.
And it's important to make thinking fun.
Oh, yeah. Make it enjoyable.
Remember, Holmes loved those puzzles.
He did. He loved a good challenge.
He saw the world as this giant mystery.
Waiting to be solved.
So if we can approach problems with that same curiosity and playfulness,
it becomes easier
to stay engaged and motivated.
It does.
It's finding the joy in the challenge.
The joy in the challenge.
Rather than getting bogged down by the pressure to find the right answer.
Don't be afraid to step outside that comfort zone.
Step outside the comfort zone.
Tackle those daunting problems.
It's like stretching those mental muscles.
Stretching those muscles.
The more we challenge ourselves,
the stronger we get.
The stronger we get. And even small changes. Small change can have a big impact.
You don't have to overhaul your whole life.
Right.
Start small.
Start small.
Pay attention to your surroundings.
Okay.
Question your assumptions.
Question those assumptions.
Look for ways to apply those skills.
Those deductive skills.
In everyday situations.
So whether it's a complex case
or just figuring out your commute.
Those Holmesian principles can help us think more clearly. And make better decisions. It's recognizing that those same skills.
The skills that make Holmes so brilliant.
Can be applied to our life.
To all areas of our life.
Helping us navigate.
Navigate the complexities.
With greater clarity and confidence. And don't get discouraged by mistakes.
Mistakes happen.
Even Holmes had his off days.
He did.
The key is to learn from them.
Learn and grow.
And use them to refine that thinking process.
It's a journey.
It is a journey.
A journey of continuous learning.
Continuous learning and improvement.
The journey never ends.
Always another layer to uncover.
Another perspective to consider.
Another challenge to embrace.
As you go on that journey.
Yeah.
Remember what we talked about today?
What's that?
We often don't realize how our brains are shaping our thoughts.
Our brains are powerful.
They are.
And by understanding...
Understanding what?
The principles of mindful distraction. Deduction.
And continuous learning. We can gain control of our thinking.
And unlock our potential.
Unlock that potential. So keep those brains buzzing, everyone.
Keep them buzzing.
Stay curious.
Keep
learning. And don't let those mental traps.
Avoid those traps.
Get in your way.
You got this.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive
into the world of mindful distraction
and Holmesian thinking.
We'll be back soon
with more fascinating topics to explore.
Until then,
stay curious
and keep those minds sharp.